All right, if you're a Nissan owner, you know that little jolt of panic you get when the check engine light pops on. Well, today we're going to take the mystery out of one of the most common reasons why that light shows up. We are cracking the code on the P0447 error. You know the one, that little glowing symbol on your dash? Think of it less like a problem and more like the first clue in a detective story. The light itself doesn't tell you much, but the code it spits out, in this case, P0447, well, that's our first big lead. So yeah, let's treat this just like a diagnostic mystery. That check engine light is our starting point, and it's pointing us toward a very specific problem that we need to solve. Okay, so what in the world is code P0447 actually telling us? To solve this mystery, we've got to first understand what our main clue even means. So here's the official super technical definition. P0447 means evap canister vent control valve circuit open. I know, that is a mouthful of jargon, but stick with me, we're going to make this super simple. Let's break it down. Basically, your car has this thing called an evap system, and its whole job is to trap gasoline fumes so they don't escape into the air. Code P0447 just means there's a communication breakdown somewhere in that system, what they call an open circuit. You can think of it like a dead phone line between two really important parts. And you don't want to ignore this because it can make you fail an emissions test and maybe even mess with your fuel economy. And what's really interesting is how specific this is. The check engine light doesn't just come on for no reason. It lights up because your car's brain, the ECM, gets the wrong kind of electrical signal and improper voltage from that vent control valve. That bad signal? That's our smoking gun. Okay, so now that we know what the code is telling us, it's time to figure out why it's happening. Let's line up the usual suspects. We're looking at three common culprits here. First, you could have some damaged wiring or just a loose connector. Second, the vent control valve itself might have just gone bad. And third, on some Nissans, a clogged drain filter can be the problem. But here's the good news. For every one of these problems, there's a really straightforward fix.
All right, let's turn all this theory into action. Here's your step-by-step guide to actually investigating the evidence and finding the real cause. We're going to be smart about this. Here's our plan of attack. We'll start with the easiest and most common thing to check, the wiring. From there, we'll move on to the valve itself. And finally, we'll check the drain filter, if your car even has one. Trust me, going in this order can save you a whole lot of time and headaches.
So step one is really just a simple visual check. Get in there and look at the wiring that goes to the vent control valve. Do you see any cracks, any corrosion? Is a connector just hanging loose? You know, sometimes the fix is literally as easy as just plugging something back in all the way. Now, if all the wiring looks perfectly fine, our attention turns to suspect number 2, the vent control valve itself. Like any part, these things can just wear out over time. If that valve is toast, it can't send the right signal, and really, the only way to fix that is to replace it with a new one.
And finally, some Nissan models have a drain filter as part of the system. Over the years, it can get totally clogged up with dirt and road gunk, and that blockage can trigger this exact error code. So, if you check the filter and it looks blocked, a simple replacement should get you back on the road.
So, you've followed the clues, you've done your investigation, and you've likely figured out who the culprit is. This brings us to the big final question. Are you going to tackle this yourself, or is it time to call in a professional?
You've basically got two options here. If you're pretty comfortable working on your car and you've got the basic tools, this is usually a simple enough job to do yourself. But hey, there is absolutely zero shame in calling a certified technician. Their experience pretty much guarantees they'll get it right the first time, which gives you total peace of mind.
And there you have it. We've totally taken the mystery out of that P0447 code. We've figured out what the clue means, we've identified all the main suspects, and we've laid out a clear path to fix it. You've now got the knowledge to move forward with confidence. So the only question left is, what's your next move?